Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another Team Doctor Tuesday. Hopefully, you guys are all having a great day. Today, we are going to go back and talk about something that I get a lot of questions on. It's something that I covered in my first Team Doctor Tuesday. However, there was a pretty big update between my first video and now that actually changes the Showdown strategy. Now, Showdown is obviously the fastest way to get the Team Affinity cards. It takes 3 Showdowns to get enough points, enough of the vouchers to get enough Team Affinity points for the Face of the Franchise card. It takes 13 total Showdowns if you're trying to only get the Face of the Franchise cards for each team in the division. If you're trying to complete each Team Affinity, it's going to take more than 13 Showdowns. But if you're just trying to get the Team Affinity Face of the Franchise player, it takes 13 Showdowns per division to get enough vouchers. Now, I'm going to go over each boss for each Showdown. I'm not going to play through the Showdowns. That would take way too long of your time. It would be probably an hour-long video. But I am going to talk about drafting strategies for each Showdown. I'm going to talk about the draft perks that you can get for each Showdown. I'm going to go over each boss and then some general strategies that you can apply to each one of the bosses. Alright, guys. There are currently 9 Showdowns. There is the second inning Showdown, the first inning Showdown, the 3 American League Division Showdowns, the 3 National League Division Showdowns, and then the Starter Showdown. Now, I'm not going to go over the Starter Showdown. Most of you guys should have finished that by now. Plus, it's a lot shorter than the other Showdowns. So I think that if you guys listen to the strategies that I give out for the rest of them, you should have a fairly easy job with that one. The first thing I'm going to do is actually go over the American League East Showdown. Now, the American League East Showdown, the boss that you will face is Garrett Cole. So, when we're going through the draft, what we're going to want to do is take as many people that are able to hit against right-handed pitching as much as possible, right? So given this first one, we never take the diamond pitcher. It never makes sense to take the diamond pitcher, right? The strategy that we want to employ is we want to get the best lineup, the best 8 hitters that we can to face right-handed pitchers. And then you also want to get a 9th really good pinch hitter that you're going to use to replace the pitcher. When you face the bosses, you don't play the field. So don't worry about playing a lineup that matters. Don't worry about playing people in positions. You want to stack your lineup for the best people against righties, and then just slowly, until you get to the 9th hole, have the worst person against righties. So if we look at each one of these players that we got for the draft, right, Trey Mancini has 84 power versus righties, 84 contact. Roberto Alomar has 102 contact and only 54 power. And Gary Sanchez has 90 contact versus righties and 101 power versus righties. Now, with the strategy that I employ and the strategy that I'm going to tell you guys about, I go for power hitters, right? If that doesn't work for you, then focus on contact. But I would take Gary Sanchez here with my first pick. Right now, we're going to apply this to each one of the picks that we get. So Glaber has 85 power, Gardy has 70. Skip any pitchers. No gold pitchers, no diamond pitchers. Only pick a pitcher unless it forces you to take one. Kevin Kiermaier has 56 power, so we're going to go ahead and pick Glaber again. Matt Barnes, Diego Castillo, Brandon Workman, Colin Poche. So this is what I'm saying. Unless they force you to take a pitcher, don't take a pitcher. Now, I always take the best velocity and control reliever that I can, and that is Diego Castillo here. Right now we have another batter. Again, we're focusing on picking people that are best against right-handed batters or right-handed pitchers because the boss is Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole obviously is a right-handed pitcher, so we're going to try to take people that hit well against him. Lourdes Gurriel has 65. No one else is even close. We're just going to keep applying this all the way down. Now, some of the mini bosses that you'll face won't be right-handed pitchers, but that's okay because a lot of the players that we're going to draft that have good power also hit well against left-handed pitchers. Now, when it comes to perks, never take perks that apply to pitching, and always take perks that are going to affect the most at-bats and most pitches possible, right? So contact boost in the 7th inning or later does not apply in the Showdown boss. It still considers it the 1st inning. So don't take anything that has anything to do with anything outside of the 1st inning. Now, Jumpstart is a great perk. However, it only affects one pitch in the at-bat. You're going to need to score 16 runs against the CPU. Now, each pitcher has confidence and they have stamina. If you only worry about the first pitch of every at-bat, you're not going to affect the confidence and you're not going to affect the stamina as much as if you take pitches. So I do not recommend Jumpstart unless it's the only batting perk that is available. Off the Radar is a fine one to pick, not the best. Again, this is the 7th inning or later. Lone Wolf pitching, goodbye. Inner Peace is one that I also recommend to only take if it's the only batting perk available. Now, the reason why I say that is because it only boosts if the pitch is down the middle. All right, I'm going to be honest with you guys. If you guys struggle hitting pitches right down the middle, you probably are going to struggle with Showdown regardless of whether or not you have this perk or not. Lucky 7, right? It's the 7th pitch of the at-bat. It's going to be a strike. You could use that for your advantage. It's one of the worst perks, I think. I'll take it over Inner Peace, though. So, you drafted your team, and now you're worried about the moments, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and count up all of the runs that you can get for the moments and ignore the buy and sell orders. I've been flipping cards like crazy. I'll show that off when we go over my team, right? So if you do these moments, you get 1, 2, 4. They changed that. It used to only be 1 run. 5, 7, 9. So if you complete all of the moments up to the second boss, you beat the first boss, the first mini boss. Before you even get to the second mini boss, you have 9 runs. That means you only have to score 7 runs in 20 outs. That is what I do. I score the 9 runs by beating these moments and then skip the second mini boss, right? If that doesn't work for you, you don't have to do that. You can beat the second mini boss. Now, if you beat the second mini boss and do these moments, you get 11, 13, 15 runs. So if you're able to beat both mini bosses and all of the moments, you have 15 runs. So going into facing Garrett Cole, you only have to score 1 run in 20 outs. You can get a lucky hit, bunt the runner over to third base, and then from there you have like 15 outs to get him in from third base. Building your lineup against the mini bosses is very important. For the AL East, you will be facing Charlie Morton in the first mini boss. So against Charlie Morton, you have to score 4 runs in 12 outs. Charlie Morton is obviously a right-handed pitcher, so you will have an easy job if you follow my draft strategy of facing the right-handed pitcher. Now, building the lineup can be a little difficult if you have trouble with that. So what I recommend is put the best people power-wise against right-handed pitchers to the top of your lineup. So you see I have 101, 85, 79, 75, and I'm just looking through and seeing who the best is. After Teoscar, it's Raylan Grichuk, right? 69 is the next highest, then 65, then 60. All right. So what's also important is when you're building your lineup, look at your bench, right? Build your bench and see who has the best power versus righties, right? Josh Akimi has better than him. 40 power. I love you, Pedroia, but you don't have the best, right? So what we can actually do here is Josh Akimi has better power than Michael Chavis. So we can actually replace Michael Chavis with Josh Akimi. So same principle, if you're facing Chris Sale as the second mini boss, you just do the same thing that I said, except instead of facing right-handed pitching, you just do it facing left-handed pitching. So Hunter Renfroe would go above that. And then you just build it against lefties instead. It's really important to build your lineup for the final boss, not caring about what position you play. Let's say that DJ Stewart was better than my catcher, right? You can put the guy out of position because defense does not matter in any of the boss battles. Now, I do want to let you guys know of a great resource, and I'm going to link each one of the guides that I'm referring to in the description, and that's Reddit. Reddit.com/r/MLB The Show is a great resource. If you guys are having trouble with some of the showdowns, go there, create a Reddit account, create a post, and there are great guides. I'm going to link each one of them for each one of the divisions in here. Although I have done each one of the division showdowns at least once, and I have a strategy. They are going way more in-depth than I'm able to do in what I hope is a 20-minute video. New shop items available. Interesting. But it is a great resource. If you guys have any trouble and can't pop into my stream, can't ask another streamer, or you need a more in-depth answer, Reddit is a great resource to help. Although I'm ready and available to help 24/7, there are people that are experts in their fields on Reddit. There's somebody that has done the NL East Showdown, the AL East Showdown, the AL West Showdown hundreds of times. That would be more than willing to help you out. So again, I will link those in the descriptions. Shout out to the MLB The Show Reddit. I'm on there all the time. I love lurking. Great resource that I'm going to link for you guys. Alright guys, now we're going to move on to the American League Central. Now, the American League Central, I will say, is probably the hardest one to draft for. Now, before I even go into the draft, I will explain why. The American League Central has 2 potential first mini bosses, 2 potential second mini bosses, and 3 potential final showdown bosses. Now, the final bosses for the American League Central are either Matthew Boyd, who is a lefty, or Zach Greinke or Michael Kopech, who are both right-handed pitchers. Now, in my opinion, I draft against right-handed pitchers for my first draft because there is a 66% chance that there is a right-hander that I'm going to face in the final boss, as well as the mini bosses are all right-handers. Now, these are two of my favorite perks right here, Defibrillator and Rattled. Defibrillator is an excellent perk. It gives you a contact boost in 00, 11, and 22 counts. And the higher perk, I believe the gold, gives you a contact boost in all counts where you are behind in the count, which that's huge. When I talk over my strategy for actually facing the boss, right, it's paramount to take pitches, so I always take Defibrillator. Rattled is a great one when you get to the silver or gold perk, because what it does is when there are runners on base, it makes the opposing players make more errors. So I would say that's a tier 2 perk. If none of the tier 1 perks are available, take Rattled. I'm going to take Defibrillator. I consider that a tier 1 perk. So as you can see, our final boss is the White Sox here, which means that I will be facing Michael Kopech. Once you figure out what the boss is going to be, right, once you see what this final showdown is going to be, if it's the Royals, it's Greinke. If it's the Tigers, it's Matthew Boyd, so you're going to have to draft lefty or people that are good against lefties. All right, moving on to the AL West. The AL West is the one that I have done the most. This is one that I consider to be the second easiest, just because there are so many really good players that we can draft from. The final boss that we face in the American League West is Justin Verlander. Verlander is obviously a right-handed pitcher. The second boss is Ohtani, and the first boss is Liam Hendriks. Anytime you face a reliever in the mini boss or the final boss, I consider it to be very, very easy. Relievers have lower stamina, and if you take pitches, it's so easy to finish the boss super easily. Now, one thing that I haven't gone over yet, Jorge Mateo is a great pick, because along with sticking good guys on your bench against right-handed, you also want to pick someone that is a good pinch runner, because, you know, you get to 15 runs, you have 2 outs left, you want a pinch runner. All right, so we actually got a new perk here to go over. I think Off the Radar is another tier 2 perk, right? Off the Radar is great for 2 reasons. One, if you're at 2 strikes and you need to foul off a close pitch, Off the Radar is great. You're going to get a contact boost on any pitch that's outside of the radar. And if you do square up a ball that's just outside of the strike zone, you're going to get a contact boost. So Off the Radar is a tier 2 perk in my opinion. Definitely worth it if you haven't done it. Here's another tier 1 perk, but only if it's, I believe, gold or above, and that's Lifeline. Lifeline will give you a great contact boost. A great contact boost when you have runners on. Obviously, the key to Showdown is getting runners on base, and this will give you a contact boost when you have runners on. All right, moving on to my friend Sammy, fellow streamer Sammy. His favorite showdown, that's the National League East. Now, the 3 bosses that you'll face in the National League East are all righties. Most of the bosses are actually righties for the most part, but same thing. We're gonna pick people that are good against right-handed pitching. So just go ahead and check. Dale Murphy, very good against righties. When It Rains is probably the worst perk that you can get for the showdown, because it only comes into effect while you're winning. Obviously, you're never going to be in that situation against any of the bosses, so When It Rains, not worth taking. I think insider information, depending on how you hit, can be a tier 1 perk. For me, it's a tier 2 perk. I prefer Oppo Taco. I like to sit on balls outside, but insider information gives you a contact boost on inside pitches. Obviously, the gold version removes the when runners are on base stipulation. So I think insider information is a great pick. Again, all of these ones are pretty bad. I think Nerves of Steel is a tier 2 perk. I don't think it actually works. So what it does is it makes your batters less likely to move out of the way on balls that are going to hit them. I noticed that even with this perk, your batters still do. So again, I would pick insider information here. Moving on to the National League Central. The National League Central is the one that I have done the second most, and in my opinion, is the easiest. It is the easiest one to complete. The reason why is the boss is Josh Hader. Josh Hader is a relief pitcher, so all you have to do is take until you get 2 strikes when facing him, and his stamina is going to go right out of the window. It's going to take, I think, about 60 to 70 pitches before his confidence and his stamina are pretty low. Now, you say, oh, that's a lot of pitches. Not really. If you take until the 3rd strike, or if you take 2 strikes and force him to throw at least 3 pitches to every single person in your lineup, that's at least 27 pitches. Now, Josh Hader does not have the best control, so I would say if you take until you're on 2 strikes for every single one of your batters, and hypothetically every single one of them gets out, that's 9 outs, but you'll probably have about 50 pitches under your belt. So you have 11 outs to score however many runs with low confidence and low stamina, Josh Hader. The final one that we're going to go over is one that I've only done 2 times. I actually failed both of them. This was before the update. Walker Buehler is the boss. Walker Buehler is somebody that I actually struggle hitting against. Here he is, Walker Buehler. 4-seamer, slider, cutter, knuckle curve, 2-seamer. Decent amount of stamina here. Not the most. So you can take some pitches with him. But obviously the strategy here is to pick people that are good against right-handed pitching. Now the first mini boss is Kirby Yates. Again, if you pick a reliever, if you face a reliever, take as many pitches as you can. The second boss is actually Madison Bumgarner. So that is a lefty. So that's where my strategy of skipping the second boss and doing the first moments to get 9 runs really comes in handy. So again, go ahead and pick people that are good against right-handed pitching. Alright guys, so what I decided to do is actually cut the video here and show off my team. As you can see, not too much has changed. We got Sean Doolittle. We got a prospect or 2. Actually, let me put Joey Bart on the bench here. We got a few prospects. I mostly focused on flipping cards and doing collections. I am about 1 or 2 players away from doing most of the collections. There's a few where I just didn't buy the gold players because, I'm going to wait a little bit to buy these diamonds. But focused really hard on flipping cards. And what I'm going to do is next week we'll actually focus on your teams. We'll go over the second inning. And what I decided to do is I'm going to go to all the showdowns and make a video on each one so you guys can see basically what I do to beat them, take some of the strategies. I'll put the final showdown on each just so you can see what it's like. But I appreciate you guys hanging out. If you have any questions that you want answered quickly, if you want me to take a look at your team today, tomorrow, I am live right now at twitch.tv/strikeout1066. Come check me out. Tell me you watched the video, and I appreciate you guys watching. Have a great rest of your night.